Stress and emotional toxicity is one of the highest causes of illness and disease, especially among Americans. We tend to live a much more high-stress life and lifestyle. Those toxins, the emotional toxins, take all of our defense mechanisms offline, particularly the immune system. Hey, I'm Dr. Gayla Gorman. I'm an acupuncturist, naturopath, and author, and I offer practical advice to help you make your well-being a high priority. Today, I'm talking about chronic stress and anxiety and the method I put together to help people deal with it. Sometimes it helps to just have an acronym that we can turn to quickly when we feel stress or anxiety rising up, our stress levels rising, and we know we need to do something before it gains too much momentum, but we're not prepared. And in the heat of the moment, it's hard to think straight. Your logical brain is taken offline. If you don't have the tools you need ready when the need arises, you will most likely see things escalate. Eventually, you should be able to turn it around, but wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to wait till eventually? You could really minimize the ill effects. This method that I have created is called the MOLT Method, and I named it that because basically what we do when we molt is shed our old way of doing things, our old way of being, in exchange for a new, improved, grown-up experience. Humans typically shed hair and skin when they're molting, but we do that with not any thought really. It's an automatic process, not that different from breathing and our heart beating. What we really need is a process that is intentional and that we can turn to when the need arises without requiring much thought. As I reminded you, when we're stressed and we go into fight or flight mode, the logical brain is taken offline. This is not the time to try to think logically and decide what might be the best way to handle a rising stress level. The M in MOLT Method stands for mindset, and where mindset is concerned, it's just important to not get this confused with the positive thinking movements, because trying to force yourself to think positive when you're overwhelmed. I think I just saw a dolphin popping up, following me along the beach here. I sure did. Right off the shore. I would let you see it, but I don't think we would get a good picture of it. That's a good omen, don't you think? The dolphin following along, wanting to hear more about the MOLT Method. Anyway, the mindset that I'm referring to is more about just accepting where we are, and non-resistance. It requires developing a level of awareness and understanding the situation in a way that we don't normally take the time to get to. I offer some tips in my MOLT Method Masterclass that will help you make an attitude adjustment, not by forcing the process, but by coaxing a little bit of a shift in attitude. Next in the MOLT Method is the O. O is for order. Most people would tell you, just make a to-do list and that'll solve your problems. I've been making to-do lists all my adult life, and I can assure you that they have not solved all my problems where order is concerned. Creating order out of chaos requires us to take a different approach. Marie Kondo wrote a New York Times best-selling book about tidying up and clearing clutter, and I can assure you that you're not alone in the order in your life issue area. We have to just go for small wins, what I like to refer to as low-hanging fruit. What can you create some order out of where it felt a little chaotic for you, where it felt like there was what I refer to as open loops? Every one of those little open loops, undone things, something that in our minds we say we need to get to that is taking mind share. And those just incrementally add up and add up to a lot of stress in our lives. Next is L for lifestyle. Again, I'm gonna differ a bit from the mainstream here. Many gurus would tell you that you just need to hit the gym and that will solve your issues with stress. You can see I'm out here walking the beach, and movement definitely can help. But if you are really dealing with chronic stress and anxiety and your energy levels are really low, you need to be careful how much you push yourself. Because if you push yourself too hard, you'll actually end up making matters worse. Like this gentle walk, especially stretching. Stretching is fantastic for getting the energy moving in your body without putting too much additional stress on it. Another thing that most people don't like to have to deal with is diet. We all want to just enjoy the foods that we've come to love. If you are already eating high quality organic diet, gluten, dairy free, and are still experiencing chronic stress and anxiety, then you're going to want to stay tuned in, because when we get to the T in the MOLT method, this should be of a particular interest to you. But if you are one of those people who still eats a lot of fast food, who maybe enjoys more than the occasional donut and Coca-Cola, I would encourage you to look at the fuel that you're putting in your body as a major area where you are increasing your stress level. I have a program called the Fatigue Formula where I work with patients more in depth to really establish a whole new way of living, and we uproot their long-term health conditions. But the very first letter in the fatigue formula, F, is for fuel. So you simply can't address stress without considering your fuel sources. Next is T, that's for toxins. Stress and emotional toxicity is one of the highest causes of illness and disease, especially among Americans. We tend to live a much more high stress life and lifestyle. Those toxins, the emotional toxins, take all of our defense mechanisms offline, particularly the immune system. And the immune system is what we rely on for so many of the processes that protect us where our health is concerned. If you're one of those people who already is leading a very healthy life and lifestyle, your diet is fantastic, you already are meditating and applying a lot of the usual techniques that work for what I like to refer to as garden variety stress, and you're still having a problem, I imagine that there is some underlying latent toxicity that is keeping your body stress level high, which means that your immune system is taken offline. So even if you practice some form of stress relief, if you find that the stress returns quickly, that's a pretty good indication that you've got some sort of toxicity going on that you really have to get to the bottom of. Ultimately, it will lead to disease and a much bigger problem. All of these cues, if you will, are really just designed to keep us thinking, remind us that to deal with chronic stress and anxiety, it's a multi-pronged approach, and it's also not one size fits all. What works for one person may not work for another person. So you've got to find the combination that seems to be easy and works for you. Easy is important because if it's not easy, when you need it most, you'll be in resistance to it. And that's not going to really be helpful. So I've created a masterclass called the MOLT Method Masterclass. It's where you'll learn how to shed chronic stress and anxiety, and you'll have at least 3 tips and tools that you can turn to quickly when you feel overwhelmed coming on or your stress level rising. If you're interested in learning more, just look around this video. You should find a link I look forward to seeing you in the class and getting some feedback about how you're applying the MOLT method in your world.